just went black for a few minutes. It'd be better to me. But
Good.
I was at home trying
Yeah.
to clean, which was,
I always
Not
used to
pretty
have to
good,
get my
but-
eyes checked. Because they put the stuff in there and then
well, they had to put different stuff in
Oh,
too.
different stuff.
For, besides dialing, they had to do the
Yeah.
thing for the macro, put some stuff in, to put me on the machine. And he said, warning, you're not gonna be seeing well today. So, it was a shock.
Well, you're here.
I'm here and I can see.
Glasses.
So, don't know how good, but I can see.
Hey, Sparrow's gonna, that's Sparrow's camera, and I've never messed with it, And so she was gonna give me a crash course on it, on how to set it up. And that was well and good. I kind of figured most of it out, except for one little minor thing. She didn't really show me what to push to make it start recording. So we're on. If it doesn't record, if the class doesn't show up on the chip, we'll have to get back here and do it all over again. Okay, any questions from the stuff that we did last week? Okay. Well, this one, this next couple of classes are going to be good classes because, well, first off, enthusiasm, that's got to be an upper right there.
Yeah.
exactly.
Ooh, the next one's love.
Yeah. So, we're getting into the meat of stuff now. Okay, starting with enthusiasm. In our last lesson, we discussed faith, finding it to be a matter of consciousness or feeling. Now we come to the subject of enthusiasm, which is faith intensified or raised to the highest power. Faith is feeling. Enthusiasm is feeling of great intensity along constructive lines. Many people fail in their undertakings, not because of a lack of ability to succeed, but because their work is on the dead level of sameness and monotony is tiresome. Enthusiasm is the spark that touches off the dynamite, which then blasts the rocks obstructing our pathway. This opens the way for our progress. Sometimes we call it punch, pep, push, but it is all one and the same thing. It is the element that lifts our work out of the ordinary and makes it something worthwhile. Some people have such an abundance of enthusiasm that it overflows upon themselves, their family, their friends, their work, and everything with which they are concerned. They can see opportunities and chances for success where others can see only failure. To talk with such a person is like taking a strong stimulant. It is invigorating and life-giving, renewing hope and creating faith anew. And if you go to parties or whatever, you can tell people who have that energy about them because people just tend to gravitate toward them. When we are with people like that, we are inspired to dare and do. While the magic of their fiery nature influences us, we seem to have tremendous powers and accomplish our best work. In reality, those who do us the most good or of the greatest value to us are those who are enthusiastic for our success, who believe in us wholeheartedly. Even though we may not be able to live up to their idea for us, nevertheless, the fact that they think we can accomplish great things spurs us on to try. Enthusiasm is contagious. Governments realize this in time of war, and since war does not of itself arouse enthusiasm, and I'll tell you what, as a side note, you can be as enthusiastic as you want to be, but the first time the bullet cracks over your head, that sort of dampens enthusiasm just a little bit.
That's for sure.
But the opposite emotions of fear and despair is necessary to create enthusiasm by artificial means. So we have the patriotic speeches, the military parades, martial music, all for the purpose of arousing people out of the lethargy and despondency and making them ardent and filled with zeal for their cause. A good example was it was James Cohen during World War I wrote that over there.
Yes.
And that was just, you know, it's always been a tune for inspiration and you know, marshaling up the forces.
Mhm.
One person will often electrify a multitude by his enthusiasm and turn their thought and effort into a given direction as a single unit. The politician is a splendid example of that, of what may be accomplished by fire and fervor. He uses his power to further his own gain, but if the emotions can be aroused for the accomplishment of a wrong purpose, they may become a power in reaching the highest spiritual attainments. There are some who by nature are so enthusiastic that they cannot work at any task which does not engage all their interest and devotion. When a work becomes monotonous, they lose interest in it and seek something else. They might overcome this tendency to instability to getting a new angle on their work and by creating an interest where there seems to be none. This can be done if one sincerely makes the effort.
Can we stop a minute?
Yeah.
At the bottom of 7, I'm confused.
Okay.
It says, he uses his power to further his own gain, but if the emotions can be aroused for the accomplishment of a wrong purpose, they may become a power in reaching the highest spiritual attainments.
It does seem to be contradictory, doesn't it?
Yeah, I need to have you tell me about that.
And, yeah. Obviously, that's, you know, that's a mismatch.
Oh, okay.
Well, how I interpreted it, but I'm kind of weird.
No, you're not.
Is that if someone can arouse us to enthusiasm for something wrong, I think the last line means we could all, without saying it, we could all get aroused for something right and spiritual. That's my feeling of what it is, but
Yeah.
it could be wrong.
No, I think you're
That's
perfect.
Okay.
That's how I took it.
Yeah, I think you're pretty much on the mark with that.
Yeah. But it didn't come right out and say in those words, but that's what I
Right.
took it
I think that's very perceptive.
for me.
Yeah, I can see that. Thank you.
Can you see?
Mm-hmm.
Does it make sense? Because it might not.
Yeah, I mean, you know, what is it, rabble-rousing speeches, you know, you can, you get a rabble-rouser in there and you can get anybody to, you know,
Buy
fall.
the product.
Yeah,
Yeah.
See that.
you know, and it's,
Marketing.
yeah, and probably the greatest offenders are those that stir people's emotions for the wrong intentions.
Mhm.
Because, you know, people get whipped up in a frenzy, they're not really using cognitive thought processes there, and they're just going with the flow.
Yeah, I think that's happening today.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Yeah. Any more comments on that? Okay. Thank you.
Thank you for listening.
Yeah.
Oh,
All of you.
I know, I make no pretense of knowing it all. You know, matter of fact, of the group here, I'm probably the most ignorant of everybody.
No, but I'm glad I asked because
Yeah, it does seem to be a
Took me
contradiction.
down.
a
did
whole
sound
paragraph.
funny. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the way it's worded, it does word it like it sounds like
Yeah.
their negative power would create spirituality, but
I understand, yeah,
I
no,
took
but
it a
you,
different way. I knew that we have the power to do that.
Okay, moving on. Enthusiasm raises the rate of vibration and enables one to accomplish tasks that would not be possible otherwise. Sluggishness or inertness destroys power and unless overcome saps the vitality and stands between the individual and his success. Every great work has back of it a person of fervent zeal. Enthusiasm kindles the fires of religion, science, and art, and makes possible great inventions. You may view an army of workers toiling in the erection of a gigantic building. They may work faithfully and are a necessary part of the undertaking. But back of the workers is some man with enthusiasm, one who beholds in the invisible things the average man cannot see. which kind of gets to the point of, basically there are two types of people. There are those who are followers and there are those who are leaders. And leaders are the ones who inspire followers in a direction, and they can be, constructive or could work out to be destructive. Enthusiasm makes a man dare, and that is what people need. They need to get beyond the place where they are afraid of failure. For until they can look failure in the face and dare it to do its worst, they will never succeed. And that falls with the premise that that which does not kill us makes us stronger.
Yeah.
Many a man would have succeeded had he not been afraid to make the attempt for fear he would fail. It is possible to take the power out of failure and turn it into success by an ardent passion for the undertaking. Many times those who dare what seems to be impossible and fail rise to try again. Sometimes they are called cranks or visionaries, but they are so busy planning the next attempt they do not hear their critics, accepting the smile of ridicule as a sign of encouragement as they rush off on a new quest. It is by this process and fired by this emotion that many of the most valued possessions of the race have come into being. Enthusiasm improves physical health. Most sufferers from so-called diseases are people of sluggish thought. People who are intent on some accomplishment have no time to think of illness, and their vibrations are above the environment where disease exists. And that holds fairly true. Enthusiasm increases mental ability. When the cells of the body are vibrating at a high rate, as they do when one is intensely interested in any project, the cells of the brain are more active, and more and better mental work can be done. You will realize the truth of this statement if you will recall how difficult it is sometimes to work out a problem when you feel inert and lifeless, and then again how easy it is to work out the most difficult problems when your mind is active and alert.
Yep.
When your life forces are running high, the spiritual side of your nature is affected also, and you can then tune in with higher planes of thought to become inspired. And that works very well, and it's a useful tool not only for the spiritual aspect, but like in my instance, I've been involved over the years in pro se litigations, and writing briefs as an amicus curiae, friend of the court, and I'm not gifted as an attorney by any ways or means, but when it becomes necessary to do something like that, if I get the first sentence down, then the universe I sort of click in with the universe, and that the rest of it just flows. And I might read it, but I don't rewrite it, because whatever's supposed to come in comes in, and it's in good format when it's finished.
Don't you think that's almost like a channeling?
It is,
From
yeah.
your spirit?
Yeah.
Your spirit.
Well, see, that's what, and I probably mentioned it before, as you get more accomplished in your knowledge and your skills, you automatically qualify for a library card to the universe wherein all knowledge exists. And then you go, you need knowledge, you go in, you check out what you need, and then when you no longer need it, you return it.
Yeah.
It's a process of, not trying to learn everything, just know where to find it.
It's a good analogy, yeah.
Yeah. And that's where a lot of people fail. They think they have to know everything when all you need is that library card.
You know how to get the
Yeah,
information.
yeah,
when
yeah.
it's-
Yeah, because somebody once said, no one can know everything all the time, or something along that line.
Exactly, but yeah, it sounds.
So if you approach the universe as a large library wherein all knowledge exists, and you have the card, you walk in, pull what you need. And there's no penalty if you don't return on time. If you want to be successful and accomplish in the very finest way the work for which you came to the earth plane to do, be enthusiastic. If you are not naturally so, determine that you will cultivate this preeminent virtue. If your work seems dull and void of interest, work up an interest in it somehow, some way. If you will make this effort and continue in it, even though the work may not seem to increase in interest, in time you will see a miracle happen. Your attitude toward your work will either evolve you to the place where you will automatically advance into something better, or you will see something about your work that no one ever suspected as existing. And you may be able to revolutionize an industry as did Whitney with his cotton gin. The last word has not been said about anything in the universe. For evolution is still going on. The world is still in the process of creation. The 6 days are not yet ended. Man is working hand in hand with God, or as it is sometimes said, God is creating the world through his agent, man, or the individual. So get into the game with vigor, determined to do your part, and if you will make of yourself an open channel through which divine power can operate, you become unified with God, and the creative energy working through you will remake your life physically, mentally, and spiritually. Be enthusiastic about your friends. If you would be of help to them, encourage and praise them, not to flatter them, but your recognition of their good qualities and the power which are latent in them calls these powers forth. And there are some people that you stand back and try to find their good points, and after about 5 or 10 minutes you just realize it's just good points there.
And then what do you suggest?
Well, then
Turn and walk away.
well, no, you smile and say, I wish you well, and then you turn and walk away. You don't want to get caught up into their, whatever it is they're into. Always try to do, I always endeavor to do that. If somebody is, you're not making contact with them, or you're just not having a meeting of the minds, or you just find it reprehensible to lower yourself down to the dregs of the netherworlds to try and make a point. Just wish them a smile, wish them well, and save your energy.
Yeah.
When you play, put your whole heart into it and let it renew your entire being. Obviously, this author never played a round of tennis. We see people who are so sophisticated that nothing arouses a very deep interest. They are constantly talking about being thrilled, but in reality they are greatly bored with themselves, their friends, and the whole world. They spend thousands of dollars for entertainment, which does not arouse them out of their languor and lassitude. Another has no money to spend on entertainment, but he takes a walk through the park, enjoying the fresh air and exercise, and returns home thoroughly refreshed and invigorated, having had a royal good time. Unfortunately for us, we don't have the ills of metropolitan areas, and we have a nice park, and you can go there, and we have a lot of places where you can go and commune with nature or whatever. Big cities, what parks they have, they just suck the energy out of you, because there's so much negativity floating around. You go there with high ideals and find yourself dragging heels.
And it's easy to get caught up in that whirlwind that it's talking about, constantly doing, when you're not really.
It's like when I was on sabbatical many years ago. I literally traveled across the country from Atlanta, and when I got to the outskirts of Seattle, I could feel my energy. I could just feel subliminally sucking from the city, drawing energy off. And I was wondering why, traffic was slow and whatnot, and people were just agitated and aggravated, and I can understand why. The city was drawing their energy away from them and living off of them like a leech. And that was making them turn into something that they probably in another circumstance wouldn't be.
Is it, I guess the only thing you can do in that case is just try to protect yourself.
Right, yeah, you sort of, you insulate yourself so that it doesn't impinge on you and it doesn't draw your energy off. I mean, that's a point when you become very selfish about your energy. But I'll tell you, once I got through Seattle and I got to the other side, I could feel like I just broke through a wall and I was in clean open air again.
I agree.
You know,
I've been
and-
there a couple of times and it just don't.
Well, see, in big cities, they do that. They have no life of their own. The city lives off the life of those in it.
Especially Seattle.
Continuing on, a magnificent mansion with its expensive furnishings may house a person who sees no pleasure in all the beauty surrounding her. Another tackles the adventure of making an old, poorly furnished house into the semblance of a real home, and so intense is the interest and so fervent the efforts made that the parts are gradually fitted together into a pleasing and comfortable abode, and the creator is exultant with joy and excitement.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, yeah. It's like, I just saw on the news, somebody has a multi-million-dollar mansion up for sale. It's like $98 million or something like that. It's filled with all kinds of things, you know, but there's so much, you know, you can't have an attachment to it. I mean, you can't be in harmony with it because there's too much there.
Too much period.
So it's a situation where bigger is not always better.
I think I experienced that one.
Oh, yeah. Would you care to elaborate?
Yeah.
You piqued our interest here.
Well, I know how it feels to have way more stuff than your household.
Yeah.
Oh, I do too. Yeah.
Well, of course, you know, and then there are people like me, I have little tolerance for an empty shelf. It's got to have something on it.
Thank you, I agree.
Nothing is more glaring than a shelf that has nothing
Or a
on it.
wall that doesn't
Yeah,
have anything
or a
hanging
wall,
on
yeah.
it.
Yeah.
That's about mine, they're still in boxes, and it's just, gotta go through this, I've been here a year.
Me too.
See, and it was delightful when Sparrow took up photography. Because she was, you know, she got good cameras and she was doing her own developing, you know, and then she entered her
I'd like to do that.
stuff in
yeah.
the county fairs. And, you know, she got some grand champions and several first places and blue ribbons and all of that. And they adorned what used to be bare walls in the living room and the kitchen and the upstairs hallway. You know, but she was, you know, it was, you know, I said, be proud of it. That's, you know, it's an accomplishment. Because she'd enter Boundary and then the next week Bonner.
Oh, okay.
You know. So, you know, it was a good thing for her, and it occupied spaces.
I would love to take pictures of the ocean, just.
Oh,
Oh, yeah, and there's, up here, there's so much, especially in the fall when you have all
Oh,
the
yeah.
change of colors.
Well, I work sunny side every day, and I drive it, and then I'll see something, why didn't I bring my camera, because I'm never gonna see that way again,
Right.
you know.
See, that's when, you know, there was something the other day that Sparrow saw that, it was a bird or something, I forget, but it was one of those, why don't I have my camera? Because it'll never happen again
yeah.
type of situations. Continuing, it is not the importance of a man nor the importance of the thing he does that creates enthusiasm. It is rather the spirit of the person himself. The conditions upon which it acts are of lesser importance. The results, however, are always the same. They lift the individual out of himself, enable him to accomplish greater things, and open the way for inspiration. This is true when applied to the great financier, and it is equally true of the man who performs manual labor. So put your heart, your whole soul into whatever you are doing, realizing that it is a great work, deserving of your best, And by that attitude, you raise your work out of the humdrum and the ordinary, making of it something holy. In other words, you make a spiritual contact and become one with the work you do. Success must result. Give the best you have, and the best will come back to you. And it's like in esoterics, those who are in advanced aspects of esoterics look upon what they do as the great work.
Mhm.
And you all are familiar with that. Because we each are involved with that in our own ways.
In the big corporate world, one of the big guys, he says, be the best there is. Well, I told my group, I says, each person be the best you can be.
Right.
And they liked that be the best there is. It didn't make them feel good at all. But, you know, you worry about being the best yourself, and then it's going to happen.
Yeah, well, see, and what you have there, I think, in that situation, you're having somebody make a statement based on their value system. And not everyone will fall in line with that value system. So it's better that every individual accomplishes to the best of their own ability.
Yes.
And their own levels. It's like in esoterics. When I was teaching in Atlanta, I had a class of 40 or 45 people, somewhere like that, and out of it there's maybe 3 that were really grasping the material. The rest were just, they were there and that was it. So I always insisted, to each what they are capable of comprehending. And that saves a lot of head banging against the wall because the other people aren't getting it.
Yeah.
And that's the hard part. That's the hard part of being a teacher. You want everybody to be on the same level, but everybody's just not going to be there.
And if you let them be there and don't continually drum it into them, later on they may pick it up and see it completely differently.
Right.
Because they're in a different spot in life, in their own life.
Right, right. Enthusiasm expresses itself as joy. It is if one is enthusiastic over his work, over his life, as it is manifesting in his affairs, he is joyful. Therefore, for your statement of truth, take this thought: I rejoice. If you do not feel joyful or enthusiastic, visualize your throat holding in the position it would be if you were feeling pleased or glad. And as the chest goes down and the breath goes out, think, I rejoice. If you do this often, you will soon find you are raising your rate of vibration, and you will begin to feel joyful and have a greater interest in your work and environment. So where we're at now, you have your affirmations are, I am peaceful, I have the power to think, I am in quiet meditation, I am contacting my good now, I am powerful, I am my own authority, I am the expression of the divine, the solution of my problem is an infinite mind, I am myself, I control my emotions, all is good, I give of myself, my faith is creative, I rejoice. So that's good stuff to build on.
You know what I like about these lessons? They're every day. It's taken every day and
You
just
can apply it.
Yeah.
It's not just reading some theory.
Right, well, and not,
Very practical.
yeah, not to mention organizations or personalities, but, you just can't, you can sit and read Theosophical Society stuff until the day wears out and years go by, but it doesn't really teach you anything. All you're doing is reading what somebody else had conceived of over 100 years ago, and the first one in the origin of that was, of course, Madame Blavatsky.
Yeah.
Everything goes back to her. Even though Theosophical Society has branched out and they got, you know, branches everywhere, the foundation was with her and she created this stuff.
Mhm.
I think a lot of people think for it to be meaningful or get something spiritual, it has to be real complicated. And I think the simpler the better.
It is. Simpler is definitely better.
You know, things that you can do now,
Right.
not when you're
And
10,000 years from now,
Yeah.
but now.
Well, and what that concept
You
is,
can apply.
yeah, what that concept is called is the KISS formula. I don't know if you're familiar with that.
keep it simple, stupid.
That's exactly it. That's exactly it.
Keep it simple,
I was telling
stupid.
you the other day. and
I haven't heard that in so long.
Yeah.
Yeah. You see, yeah.
I
You know,
haven't heard it like that.
You know, you know, and it's like somebody, some politician or pundit once said, you know, if you can't blind them with brains, baffle them with bullshit.
Yeah, I heard that too.
You need to turn that camera
A lot of that goes on.
on. Yeah. You gotta, and sometimes you gotta have boots on, it gets so deep.
Hip waders.
Yeah.
That's like Melissa